Hello, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, along with Emily Compagno, Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Huge developments today. Of course, the suspected killer of Charlie Kirk has been caught. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson turned in to authorities late last night in Utah by his own father. And now authorities are searching his house. They at one point asked the media to move back because of some concerning information. For more on what's going on the scene right now, let's go to Matt Finn. He is in Washington, Utah, where the suspect lives. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Martha. Behind me is the family home. And for the past couple of hours, police have kept us pushed back because of what they called some concerning information. Earlier today, we were able to get right up to the house, but then they asked us to step back. And we also saw a police dog, what may have been like a bomb sniffing dog, exit the home not too long ago. So they're obviously not telling us what the threat may have been, but right now it doesn't seem as urgent as it was a few hours ago. And if I step off camera and we press in, you could see or at least make out a gray Dodge Challenger. That's interesting because authorities say the shooter, Tyler Robinson, drove a Dodge Challenger on and off the campus when he allegedly assassinated Charlie Kirk. So when we got to the family home here, we were surprised to see this car still sitting in the driveway because we imagined it may have been towed or impounded, but the car is still sitting here. Now, the past couple of days, we've been at the crime scene a couple hundred miles north near the Salt Lake area. Now we're down in the St. George area. And a short while ago, I spoke with a neighbor here who says, unfortunately, she's not surprised about the shooting. She says she feels like political hate has spread across the country, but she's also praising the shooter's parents for helping turn their own son in.
I am so thankful for them. That had to be an unbelievable decision, and I should hope that all of us parents would do the same.
Investigators say video shows 22-year-old Robinson jumping off the roof of a Utah Valley University building after he assassinated Kirk. Sometime afterward, he ditched a rifle wrapped in a towel in the nearby backyard. Investigators also say Robinson's father ultimately accompanied his son to surrender to the sheriff's office here in Washington County, where we are. President Trump tells Fox that a minister was involved as well. Now, Utah's Governor Spencer Cox says they will seek the death penalty in this case. The shooter was booked into the Utah County Jail, which is where the shooting took place. Formal charges are expected to be announced next Tuesday, but we understand he was arrested on at least a capital murder charge. Martha.
Matt, thank you very much. Now let's take a listen to some powerful words from the Utah Governor, Spencer Cox, who spoke about how the community in Utah reacted to the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last two nights. There was no rioting, there was no looting, there were no cars set on fire, there was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this.
Spencer Cox has been a very strong voice in all of this week. He's going to be on with Brett Baer at 6 o'clock. Harold, let me start with you. I want to get your reaction to what he said. He said that he had been hoping that this wasn't someone from Utah. He said, I prayed for everything in this situation, and I prayed that it wouldn't be one of us, I think were his words. But your thoughts on how the people there have reacted, Harold?
Well, good to be with you, and thanks for good to be back around the table. I'd say a couple things. I thought his words today were not only calming, but they were inspiring. He talked about not only did he was very honest about saying we didn't want to think that this came from within, from us. Now, it would have been sad if it had come from Nevada or Michigan or Tennessee or Texas also, but I respected his honesty. Two, he went on to say how we got to stop pointing fingers, and we've got to figure out, we have so many on-ramps for the rage and the violence, or for our disagreements to emerge into those areas. We got to figure out how we give people off-ramps. I heard a guy today earlier, Martha, say that we've got to make disagreeing safe again. We got to make debate safe again. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with someone or having a vigorous opposition to someone's position, but that doesn't mean it should turn into violence. Lastly, I thought his words, his really, the most inspiring part of what he did was talking to young people and saying that your politics and your expressions of your politics don't have to be consumed by rage. You can have, and he was saying that we need to take the example of Charlie Kirk and move forward with it. This technology, he also said social media is rotten and is ruining us in many ways. There was so much he said there, and I didn't really know him before this. This guy is an inspiring guy in politics to me. He and I do not share the same political party, but we share the same vision for our country. So I thank him and salute him, and I look forward to seeing him a little later. I think he's going to be on, like you said, Brett's show a little later tonight.
You know, Jesse, it was alluded to in the intro, but think about the decision that this family made. And there's a report in The Guardian tonight that the family is really conservative leaning on the whole. And a neighbor or a friend from high school described Tyler Robinson as pretty left on everything. And he said his family is hard GOP. He's the only one who is not in this case. And this father and the minister or the pastor who I mean, you had to have known when you saw that image. Everybody in his world knew it was him. I mean, it was pretty clear from those photos. If that's your child or that's your next door neighbor, you're going to look at it and say, well, that's Tyler Robinson. Your thoughts on how this played out, Jesse?
Well, so he was a smart kid and he got a scholarship and dropped out after one semester. So something happened in the first semester and it went crazy. And so he went back to live with his parents. And then he isolated and became all online and went loco. And he was a bad seed, and the family did the right thing, and I'm glad they did. I want to talk about Charlie, though. I'm still shook. I can't believe it. It's not going away, this feeling that I have. We were at a funeral service for Emma's grandmother last night, and everyone came up to me and talked about Charlie. He touched so many people, and he died honorably. He died fighting in the battle of ideas. And that's what he loved to do. He loved to do battle, verbally. And the left is losing the battle of ideas, and they're losing badly. They're losing on DEI, on trans, on the border, on crime. And because they can't win an argument, they're trying to kill. And so our response has to be, we have to do what Charlie would have wanted to do. We have to win. We have to win at the ballot box. We have to win at the marketplace. We have to win online at the universities. We have to politically destroy the sick movement that's giving birth to these killers. And I don't care what you have to do. We can love them, but we don't give them any quarter. Enough is enough. This ends now. And there is a wicked strain that's bubbling up, and you see it all over the place, and we know who we're talking about, and it's permeated the media, the culture, and even Congress. And it has to be cordoned off and eliminated. We've done this with other factions in our political past. We've did it with communism, with racism. It's been done before. Anarchism, it can be killed. Figuratively. And we'll do it with charm, with grace, the way Charlie did. He smiled, he listened, he engaged, and he won. Now, you just mentioned it. We have to agree to disagree. We do it on the show every day. And no one hates each other here. We love everybody at this table, and we love everybody in the country. And we just have to stop hurting each other, and it shouldn't be that hard.
Emily.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was larger than life. And I think in part because not only did he impact millions of people, but because under every circumstance, under every normal circumstance where any ordinary human would lose their temper or become flapped or somehow show a modicum of a raised heart rate or a heated tone, he remained unflappable. He remained committed to the love of Jesus Christ, to having faith permeate all of his answers, and through it all, a calm, respectful demeanor that gave honor to not only every conversation, but every human that engaged with him, every human who approached him without an honorable motive. many who wanted to catch him in a gotcha moment or to embarrass someone of conservative thought, but instead he rose above it all. And my point is that just as the governor said, the bullet did not just pierce Charlie Kirk, but it pierced this idea that there is room for civil, peaceful discourse, that humans can connect and that can rise above the radicalization online, the violent rhetoric that has permeated political tribalism in this country. And so to the killer, he too represented an idea, in my opinion, that a conditioning, a programming, a radicalization from rhetoric fomented online can result in these people that have justified and have normalized and have somehow become immune to violence. And what do we expect if people and Congress people, which we'll get into a bit later, are allowed to describe humans and the president and thought leaders as villains, as ultimate demons? What else is there to be expected? But I have faith too, not only in Jesus, but also in Charlie Kirk's legacy. And we saw it earlier on this network today when the president of the Turning Point in Oklahoma spoke. And he said the shot that killed Charlie was like the shot heard around the world. So here we had a young person who was quoting history and a moment in the American Revolution, the beginning of the American Revolution, to make the point that the mantle will be carried on, not necessarily by one person, because Charlie's shoes cannot be filled, but by the millions of young people and old people alike that Charlie inspired that will say, debate me peacefully. And here I am ready to receive your questions peacefully. And here I am knowing that you can't prove me wrong.
So, Greg, Charlie said, when things are moving very fast and people are losing their minds, it's important to stay grounded. Turn off your phone, read scripture, spend time with friends, and remember, internet fury is not real life.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, the governor was trying to show a contrast by saying, we're not rioting, we're not looting. And there is a contrast here, and it's undermining this entire discussion about efforts to engage. Charlie was killed for what he said. There is a history of this. What speech is shut down most frequently on campus? Conservative speakers. Who gets targeted at events? Conservatives. So within this opposition bubble, it's not really about the ideas. It's the belief that you shall not be heard. It's the heckler's veto that has been armed and justified. So it's not a two-way street. Liberal speakers, they have no fear on campus. Nobody's picketing what they have to say. Why is that? It's because no one calls them fascists. Cause meet effect. The word was fascist. Something that we get called a lot. It's the persuasive drumbeat of repetition. The persuasive drumbeat of repetition that hypnotizes the many and energizes the few. It's a word, fascism, that has been officially sanctioned by the media Democrat industrial complex. Evidence of conversations with the killer show that he lived in a bubble where that was his oxygen. The killer exposed what Charlie was doing when he would come to campuses, trying to show them that their ideas were not their own, that you are not thinking for yourself. In a way, I mean, we keep hearing, we've been hearing about the baby Hitler question, like, if you had the opportunity, would you kill baby Hitler? Well, the bubble that this guy lived in had him convinced that's what he was doing, that he would be heroic. Let's face it, if Charlie hadn't been killed, in 10, 15, 20 years, he would have been president. He had the talent stack, no question. That office was for him. So the left created a moment that taking out Kirk was like taking out a baby Hitler 2.0. I've said this on the show over the years that when you brand someone a Nazi or a fascist, you put everything on the table to stop them. If you don't stop them, you are immoral. You have to do everything you can to stop a Nazi or Hitler or a fascist. Could have been any one of us, but I'll tell you, it never would have been Colbert or Don Lemon or Morning Joe because, again, they aren't called fascists or Nazis. You could say we call people socialists, but that doesn't have the same flame, the same fear. So here's from my perspective, what Charlie's death can do to change the world in the immediate sense. The next time you're at a dinner, remember this killer was at a dinner and was talking about Kirk being a fascist. The next time you're at a Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving and your 22-year-old niece or nephew calls grandpa a fascist because he's wearing a MAGA hat, or you call your dad a fascist because he voted for Trump, you have to respond with a simple question. You called me a fascist, and what is it you would hope to result from that label? I mean, what do we do with fascists? We have an example on September 5th, 2025. They acted on what they perceive to be a fascist. Do you want your grandfather to die? Do you want me to die? What is your intention when you call somebody a fascist? So what that does is you force people to do what Charlie was trying to do. Force them to think and not to recite. Because right now, in this hypnotic world of repetition, they are simply reciting things. They are not thinking. They are not thinking. They are a product of brainwash. So this is a moment where you can show people where labeling ends up.
Well said. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And coming up next, Ilhan Omar making some awful comments about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Next.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.